Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. So tonight, we are in the training room of the 4 Fairgrounds Road Public Safety Facility building because we just finished with the Board of Selectmen's workshop meeting. The board meets once a month in a workshop-style setting, which is in this room. And this is also called the All Talk, No Action meeting. That's not an insult. They do a lot of talk, but they don't do a lot of action. That's the point of the meeting. They have a lot of discussion about things. So tonight, we had 3 main topics. We talked about entertainment licenses at the beginning for about half an hour. And I didn't bring my notes, but what resulted from that was the administration is supposed to be looking at a few things to bring back to the board at a later time, including definitions of things like what is amplified music, and might there be some consistency in times of entertainment or in the downtown area for indoor versus outdoor? How off are all the establishments from some kind of consistent time? We also talked about, this didn't really relate to entertainment licenses, but establishing rules or regulations for BYOB, bring your own beer or alcoholic beverages, bring your own beverage, establishments. And there was a couple of other things. So that was the entertainment license discussion. Then we had a discussion about a compensation and classification study that the town is undergoing. We have some funding in our current budget. We've engaged a consultant. He was here tonight and he was outlining the approach and the methodology that's going to be used to conduct this study. This study basically looks at wages and benefits and where employees are classified into a structure, a classification structure. So, you know, you do this type of job and you're classified like this. You do the other type of job and you're classified here. All of the employees are going to be interviewed and filling out forms. And most towns do this type of study every maybe 5 to 10 years, some more often, some less often. We haven't had one done in about 20 years. So it's high time for this type of thing to be done. They look at internal and external equity, benefits, things like that. So the consultant was talking about this. We're having more discussion at various meetings tomorrow. Our last discussion was talking about space needs planning. And we talked about needs in the next 3 to 5 years for certain facilities, needs for 5 and out for other types of facilities, and some various policy issues, such as should offices be, the sort of admin offices be in town or out of town, or both, the way it is now. We talked about the types of repairs that are needed. We talked about, for example, some facilities just need something different, like the Island Home. We need a new nursing home. And there's a question, it's not because the building is too small or because we have a giant waiting list of people to get into the Island Home. We do not. But the building is outdated and there are starting to be some regulatory issues. So we can't really build a new building and run the old one at the same time at the current site. So we're talking about the potential of building it elsewhere. Anyway, lots of discussion. There is a draft outline. It is draft. It is not written in stone. It's very much subject to ongoing discussion, and it's on the town website under the Board of Selectmen's agenda for today. What else? Do you remember what else we talked about? You probably
buildings.
Were riveted to the discussion.
Different buildings. South Water Street was mentioned a lot.
20 South Water Street was mentioned a lot. I'm trying to banter with Parker here. Because Gino's not here, so Parker doesn't really banter yet, but he will by the time Gino gets back. So but yes, good point about 20 South Water. And another thing the board talked about was maybe we should have a ballot question or questions that outline various options to the voters, and they can sort of do a non-binding, they can answer the questions in a non-binding manner. So, for example, should we move the plus offices, the planning offices downtown? If we did, it might cost this. Your tax bill might go up by X, or the average tax bill might go up by X. Yes or no? Should we do these are just random options that they talked about tonight. They wouldn't necessarily be on the ballot, but another option is, should we redo the 16 Broad Street complex, 20 South Water Street building, which are all very close to each other, with visitor services in the 1 East Chestnut building, all those offices that are right down in the town building vicinity? Should we renovate all of that into one big or a couple of smaller, not small, but one big building, town building, maybe with a connection over to another big building, the 20 South Water Building, and have all town administrative offices down there. Might be a parking issue if we do that. So what are we going to do about that? But yes or no, voters, which option do you like? So there's going to be a lot more discussion about this as the month in the coming months. So Parker, what do you think about that? Do you think the town offices should be in town or out of town or both?
I think that if it's more cost effective for the town to put them out of town, that would be the more logical thing to do.
There's some logic involved here. And then there's the whole issue of revitalizing downtown, and do the town offices contribute to that? Probably. But there's the parking issue, and there's the convenience aspect of things. And if all the inspection offices are downtown in July, nobody wants to drive their truck downtown to go deal with all that.
And if all the offices are downtown, are there businesses that could be in those spaces that could be bringing business to that area?
Yeah, lots of things to consider. So in other town business, at our meeting next week, the board meeting next week, we have a pretty big meeting next week. We have a county meeting, which is mostly going to focus around Baxter Road and all aspects related to Baxter Road. We're going to be talking about betterments, how they work, when a municipality may implement them. We're also going to be talking about, we actually had on our agenda tonight something that was rescheduled for next week, which is consideration and possible vote of a draft license with Sconset Beach Preservation Fund for use of town land for an erosion control project along Baxter Road. We're going to be talking about that next week because the license wasn't ready tonight. That sort of thing with regard to Baxter Road. Probably also might be talking about if there is a severe storm over the winter, which there probably will be, and the bluff erodes further into the road, what are our emergency provisions going to be for possibly shutting down the road or sections of the road? We may be talking about that next week. We also have a pretty hefty Selectmen's Agenda. We've got a number of real estate issues. We have, let's see here, a couple of public hearings. One of them is going to probably be rescheduled, some telephone petitions. Preliminary review of town meeting warrant articles. Town administration activities report. Oh, again, this license. I made a mistake. That's not under the county meeting. That's under the town meeting, selectmen's meeting. Consideration and possible vote of draft license. We have received a bid for a town-owned building at 22 Federal Street, also known as the Mooney Building. One bid. We put it out. This is the second time we bid it out, and the board is going to be discussing the possible acceptance of the bid. Probably the likely acceptance of the bid. And a couple of, at least one parking item. A few weeks ago, the board was talking about during the winter, should we open up some loading zones for parking and maybe some taxi stands? So they're going to be talking about that. There's a couple of other issues. There has been a proposal. I hope I'm not hitting the third rail here, but there's been a proposal for a music festival to occur over Labor Day weekend 2014, which would be 2 days of Labor Day weekend. I believe Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday. I can't remember which. I guess Saturday and Sunday. And this is expected to attract maybe between, I guess, 6,000 and 8,000 people per day. And there are a lot of concerns at the town level about whether or not we have the resources at that time of year to handle an event of that size. So the board is going to be discussing whether or not that's something that should even proceed in the manner in which it's been proposed. So there's that next week. And what are you hearing around town? Anything interesting? Are you in high school?
Yeah.
What's going on at the school? Anything exciting? That was a really interesting discussion about the school space.
Yeah. Well.
Do you think you need more space at the school?
You know, I'm the student representative on school committee.
That's
we
right.
Definitely need more space. Every meeting it comes up, and unless we're all going to be evolving our views on stacking elementary schoolers, we have to.
You don't have great meeting space at the school.
I mean, they'll probably start moving to the LGI.
Yeah.
Renovated.
Actually,
So
the LGI's. I haven't even been in since it's been renovated.
Amazing.
Is it? I got to
Yeah.
go check that place out.
It's easily the nicest room in the school now.
Oh, that's good. Because
Yeah.
it was not good before. It was hot. It was cramped. The tiny desks made for preschoolers, they were
Half
too
the chairs
small.
were missing.
It wasn't good. So what about Veritas? What's going on? When's it coming out again?
Our next issue comes out tomorrow or the next day.
Oh.
Depending on how
Are you
soon
the
we-
editor?
One of the co-editors.
And he doing my show.
Depending
feel so
on
honored.
when the packages come in.
What's your going to be headline story?
Our
Do
headline
you know yet?
story is about the Junior Miss competition, or Distinguished Young Woman.
Yes.
And we're also covering the parking issue, student parking.
Oh,
Speaking of space
there's an
needs.
issue with student parking?
Yes, there's not enough, and people are beginning to hit each other.
Well, because all the kids drive their cars to school.
Yeah.
Why can't you take the bus? That's probably a third rail, too.
Yeah. I think it's a
They like to
prestige
drive it,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Like-
we should just stop juniors from parking in the student parking area and make it
There
a
you go,
senior
only
privilege.
seniors.
That would be fine.
I'm down with that.
And then the other thing is the impromptu
Sort of.
senior skip day.
Oh, that's always an issue. When I was in high school, that was an
Oh,
issue.
did you not hear about this?
No, what about it?
On the senior classes Facebook group, a bunch of people decided to skip and ended up with 40 seniors missing one day of school.
Well, I thought senior skip day wasn't until the end of the year.
It's not supposed to be.
Oh, they recently did this?
It was last Monday.
Oh, not good.
Yeah. angry
Senior
Mr.
skip day is at
Bucky.
the end of the year, not in the middle of the
Yeah.
year.
No one bothered to tell her.
I wasn't allowed to do senior skip day.
Mm.
My dad was the chairman of the school committee at the time, and he didn't say exactly, don't even think about senior skip day. It was more like, do you really think that's a good idea with me in my position? How do you, is that going to look good for me? And I became afraid, and I was like, me and 2 other people showed up to school that day.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, under Mr. Bucky, the school has taken a bit of a harsher stand
Oh, I'm sure.
on issues involving skip day and prank day especially.
Oh, what's prank day? I never heard of that.
Prank day is exactly what it sounds like.
You
Seniors.
do pranks?
Yeah.
Like at MIT when they do those cool pranks?
Yeah, some of them are good-natured. For instance, at one point, a group of students perfectly replicated a teacher's classroom on the
Oh, I heard
ceiling
about that.
right next
That's
to it.
clever.
Yeah.
That's
but
very clever.
There's also issues of putting Vaseline on every available surface, and
That's gross.
Yeah,
And that's costly cleanup.
and
That's
all the
not a good
students are
idea.
cleaning it up,
Yeah.
so that's really unfair to the maintenance staff.
You should do something to Mr. Bucky. Not something like embarrassing or bad, because you don't want him too mad, something funny. I could help you out with that. Maybe. So, okay, that was good banter,
Yeah.
by the way. So we'll do this again next week. Thank you very much. See you next time.